So it's 12:03,
Awesome.
so we can dig right in.
Oh, this question.
This question.
All right. So the question is, what have you given up on? And that's a very broad, big question.
Yeah.
And I have a story that I would like to. Hold on. I'm curious as to how this would unfold in the people watching, versus if we told the story first, meaning opening perspective,
Okay.
right? Like let someone sit. Think about that. What I would like you guys to do is, in the comments, drop something that you have given up on, and I want to see if you guys notice something. If you're open to sharing. Because there's a story I want to share, but I don't want to. I want you guys to see where you're at this moment, and this is a great way to give an example of how impactful this process is when you share it with somebody, because of how it can totally change your value on
Absolutely.
your perception, right?
Absolutely. I mean, and that's what's gone on in the mentorship program, probably most stunningly of all the things. People have come in with different ideas about what things mean and what they think they mean to them. And then when they hear other people share their experience, particularly experiences that are very different than their own or thoughts that are different than their own, they have an opportunity to change. Like, it's just evidence to the fact that we don't have to stay rooted in our one way of looking at it or the way that we've thought about something up until now. We can open our minds to hearing what other people have to say from their real lived experience, right? And nobody's talking out of a book in any of this. Nobody's talking about head knowledge. Everybody's talking about their lived experience, up to and including, hey, I don't have any lived experience with this thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
what's going on for you? Because I don't have anything to bring to this conversation.
Or I don't have the understanding or the language on how to interpret what you're saying to my experiences.
Right. And by being willing to be open and honest and transparent, even if it means on any given day someone shows up and was only able to answer a couple of the questions that we posed, by the time we're done with that 3-hour session and they've had a chance to speak with one another, everyone comes away knowing more, with a better idea of who they are and where they sit with the question. And that's the important point. It's like, knowing where I sit is only as helpful as it helps you to figure out where you sit.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So on Instagram, we have mutual love and participation. Mutual love participation. Given up on.
Oh, okay.
So here
And there were some
we
stuff-
have,
oh, okay.
let's see. I gave up on monogamy. I've given up on people, relationships. Given up on people, my time, who don't appreciate it. I've given up on trying to find a relationship that's lifestyle related. My fondest memory was building sandcastles with my father. That was until my mom took the urn away due to bad experience. Took the urn away. Due to bad experience. Got you, little red wolf. I've given up on adjusting myself for the comfort of others. I can be kind while honoring myself. Being oneself without masking. Being loved. Finding a job.
All great stuff.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. For those of you who are just joining us, the question today is, what have you given up on? And what we were doing right now is asking you all to put in the chat something that you've given up on. So by all means, feel free to drop that in the chat, whether you're on Instagram or TikTok, and let us know. And we can sort of use that to launch the conversation.
So I just want to drop that in there.
Yeah. So that's Instagram. Right?
Ooh, I can pin the comment. Look at that.
Awesome.
Look, I'm getting all this tech savvy
I
stuff
know,
going
right?
on. All right.
Good. I'm glad you, because I am not tech savvy.
Listen, I saw it pinned here. Thank you, Lace. And I was like, ooh, maybe I could do it over here. So there you go. Instagram, that's the question at hand. So the story I wanted to share about this, because this is something I was able to witness when we were going through the program one time. And The question was asked, and there was two people sitting in front of each other. One was a middle-aged woman, and the other one was a very young man. Young man meaning 21, maybe, right?
I'm waiting to see which story this is.
Oh.
I don't
You
know
don't
which
remember?
story.
Yeah.
I will when we go, but
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
remember right now.
So, when they asked each other the question, because the way that this happens in the intensive is you pair up with one person and you go through these questions and you share your answers back and forth while you're holding space for each other. Because in the intensives, you can go a lot deeper in your relationship with the questions too. And it's really about validation and affirmation. So she goes to answer and she goes, I've never given up on anything in my life. She goes, I'm not a quitter. Something along those lines. And the guy nods and he goes, well, I've given up on things that haven't worked for me in life. And it stopped her right in her tracks because she goes, oh, wait a second. And she wanted to really, like, to have such a solid perspective on a value of, right, given up on. What does that mean? And it meaning a particular thing because that's the lens that you look at things through, right? Because that perspective wasn't an option. It was giving up, the relationship with giving up.
Right. And I think a lot of that comes from upbringing and training, right? Where some of us came up in environments where we were taught, never give up. Like giving up is weakness. So you're not trying hard enough, right? And so when someone speaks out of knee jerk like that, more often than not, it hasn't been thought all the way through. It's just a carried forward value that was given to you by who? Anybody, your parents, school, military, wherever your upbringing is, right? And here's this younger person saying, but wait a minute, it's a little bit more thought out, right? Like, I've given up on things that don't work for me anymore. That's not what when those of us that were given, values that were black and white, that wasn't one of them.
What that makes me think of, that knee-jerk reaction to language, is what I learned on Tuesday about your initial reaction. Your knee-jerk reaction is going to be how you were raised. When you get time to process it and think about the answer, it'll be who you are today.
Right. Like when we were talking about it, are you answering as the person that you once were, or are you answering that as the person you'd like to be? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember writing that question down after Tuesday.
Yeah.
Or Monday night.
So, those are great comments. So let's talk about what have you given up on? Dude, for real, the perspective is crazy.
Yeah. For me, I see the given up on question as being like twin sides of a coin, right? There's like, what have I given up on in terms of like that sad, like, oh, I've given up on like not in a positive way or not feeling positively, or the other way, like the young man said, what have I given up on in terms of letting go? What have I let go of, right?
Yes.
As opposed to given up on, right? That phrase letting go makes that flip side of it a little clearer language-wise for me than the giving up on, right? So I let go of things that don't work for me. And, I've had to let go of people. I've had to let go of some, there's things I've had to let go of in order to be able to grow, in order to be able to move forward with my life. So.
Yeah, as I was staring into space just now, that's what I was thinking, was let it go.
Yes, Master Hurricane, it is a broad question. There's emotional, physical, mental. There's all kinds of giving up on or letting go of, which is why, we'll get to the end of this hour and they'll be like, oh my God, there wasn't enough time to talk about this.
And what you're going to realize is, as I'm realizing, is all of these questions are multi-layered or multi-dimensional. Mm-hmm. Right? They're all applicable in different ways, like you said, spiritual, physical, internal, external, emotional.
Yeah.
Right? So they're all layers. They all have answers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, religiously, right? I was raised Catholic. I tried really hard to learn earnestly. I did all the things you're supposed to do as a good Catholic girl. And I ran out of the ability to really accept what I had been taught. And so one of the things I gave up on was trying to fit that square peg in a round hole for myself. I could not make sense of the dogma. I could not make sense of the story that goes with that sort of like Catholic Christian story. Like it just, I like did this for the longest time, and I couldn't. It's no matter how hard I pushed my head up against it, I couldn't make sense of it. I couldn't get it to be real to me. And so at like 15, I made the decision to give it up, or let it go. It started another whole journey. It started another whole line of questioning for me in my life, line of inquiry, line of searching. So if not that, then what? Right? And that's been an ongoing journey for me. The if not then what has taken different forms over time. Up to including, spending a short time in a cult, and then having to sort of forge out my own cosmology of the world because of what that experience did for me.
So that's a big giving up.
Yeah.
Right? It's because as you talk, maybe if you're open to sharing it, talking about that, but things that no longer serve you, or things that you no longer are, which makes me think about. So there was a gentleman I worked with who was a dominant out of the West Coast, and he came to visit, and we went out to lunch, and really, really impressive individual. And he said, he was also, I think, in his 60s or 70s, 50s or 60s, and he said he remembers he remembers choosing to give up on things in which he no longer was. And what that took me to was my collection with comics. I go back to this. I grew up on comics. I collected them. I had them for 20-something years, 30-something years. And I gave them up.
I remember that.
I gave them up on a moving day. It was a really hard time. And I gave them to a homeless person. I said, please make sure they go to a good place. Meaning, I know he was going to sell them because I said, listen, I know you can sell it. I knew the guy from the block. But what I realized is I took all my lessons from the books. It wasn't the books themselves. And I was no longer the person who needed the books to have a connection with them, because I realized that I took away the stories and the morals of them. And those were what impacted me, right? So I gave up on a part of myself that I no longer was, right? Nostalgic in that way.
Right.
To move forward. And it also came at a hard time, man.
Yeah.
And wow, I don't even know why. Like I don't
You don't know why you gave him up?
I don't know why I gave him up.
Okay. I was there.
No, but like they could have fit in the truck.
No, they could have fit in the truck, but you were at a point already where you were trying to let go of or release things that weren't working for you. And the awareness that you just explained was reason enough. You had internalized all the things you had learned. You no longer needed to carry the stacks of paper that were where the stories came from. So your jump up, your evolution up was, I now embody the principles that matter to me. They're inside of me now. And so I no longer need the paper in order to have the connection to the principles.
Yeah.
Right? They don't, and comics are available online too.
Also, they took up a lot of space.
But and I think it was also the fact that they were financially valuable. This was someone that you knew from the block, and it was an opportunity. You were in a lot of angst, right? And so this was a clear opportunity for you to be able to do something for someone at a time where you weren't feeling that you had much agency at all.
Yeah.
Right? And this was an act you could do from yourself, of yourself, towards someone in a way that you hoped would be helpful for them. It was an act of agency. So it's your turn today.
That shit was difficult, man.
Yeah, it was.
So you printed some stuff up.
I did print some stuff up. This has become a game for me of every
Make
day.
more
Like,
Coke.
what can I find to share about the question? What can I find to help us dig a little bit deeper into the topic, right? So I just start with like dictionary definitions, right? So searching, giving up on something online. What I got was, it means stop trying to do or achieve something, often because it's too difficult or as an admission of defeat. As in, they have given up on their plan to build a new factory, or she hasn't given up on trying to get her husband to buy a new car, or he urged them not to give up on their peace effort, right? So those are, not kink related questions, but or statements of the concept, but the idea is that we stop trying to do or achieve something, usually as we found it was too difficult and we couldn't, or as some admission of defeat, right? And I have lots of places. When I was very young and I had been in the heyday of my drug and alcohol use, long before I had any connection to recovery or at anything, I got to a place where I got tired of the life as I was living it. I didn't know what options were available to me out there, but I just knew I didn't want what I had. But I had friends, people that I worked with in restaurants, people that we partied with, et cetera, et cetera. So I finally do some work. I finally get a counselor. I finally realize that what I need to do is move away from the relationship that I'm in that's completely drug and alcohol addled. And the partner at the time I had married. I mean, he wasn't willing to change. He didn't want for things to get better or different, but I clearly did. So there was this woman who used to hang out with us, and I thought she was my friend, right? And so when I came to her and I said, basically, I'm getting ready to level up. I'm getting ready to make some changes because this hasn't been working for me and I need to do something that's healthy for me. I went in the full expectation that she would be happy for me, that she would want to support me because she was my friend and I was saying that I was doing something good for myself. That was not what happened. What happened was she got angry, she got defensive, because she had more vested in what we were doing, partying all together, that I was taking that away from her. And she was mad at me and thought I wasn't doing a good thing. And at the point at which I was able to make this decision, I had gotten really clear on what wasn't working for me in this situation and what I needed to do to get and be healthier, right? But what I never expected was for someone who I thought cared about me to be more interested in keeping a status quo that was around like drugs and alcohol and crazy living than to see me try to get well or see me try to get better. And that was my first exposure to the idea that, like, as I level up, there's going to be people who don't want to come with me. And I have to give that up too. I have to let those people go. I have to let that go if, in fact, I want to level up. And when you hear me talk about what that was like, I had a lot of leveling up to do from where my early adulthood started. Anyway.
No, cool. I wrote down frequency. TikTok, like the love, love the live, love the live. Love the
That was
live.
a tongue twister.
Instagram, I didn't know you could do balloons, but if there's a way to do that, listen, I'm here for it too.
Those were balloons, weren't they?
Yeah, I thought it was balloons.
Aww.
I thought it was like a thumbs up.
Did you do
or
that
something.
for my story? That was sweet.
So frequency, what I realized just this moment, as I'm having my sour jelly beans from Trader Joe's. They're so good.
Shameless shout outs to everything we love.
I remember growing up, I'd hear stories like this, or I would have the experiences like this of the selfish person. And I think about how many times throughout my life have I experienced it in real time, just that level of selfishness versus how much have I witnessed it versus how much does it really happen versus how much was I expecting it to happen. It's like, when you were a kid and you thought there would be a lot more fucking pits of quicksand around in life.
Oh, right. Yeah, when they talked about quicksand, you actually thought it was something you'd run into, like
right.
Any minute now.
Now, I'm realizing I have these moments spread throughout life. I'd have to sit and think about how often.
You mean the ones where you lose people for leveling up?
No, the ones where people are disrespectful to that.
Okay.
Like this, the using you for something.
Right.
I'm upset because you can't give me your time because you're choosing to do better things with it.
Right.
That shit, right?
Right.
Very infrequent. I mean, I'd have to sit and think about it. But when you hear the stories and you hear the examples, what it makes me think of is how much I thought I would come across it genuinely like that versus how much I came across it when people were ignorant to the fact of it happening versus it not happening at all. Where people hear something and they're willing to adapt and change to what they're hearing versus, well, what about me? Have you come across a lot of those situations in life? Like in the big picture, how frequent would you say you've experienced that? And you guys too, how many, like over your lifespan, how many people do you actually remember engaging in those scenarios?
Where they didn't want to support
Correct.
a change you were making for yourself because they were more vested in what they wanted.
Correct. Yeah, that particular experience. The one that I witnessed was when we were down in Pennsylvania teaching that intensive, and one person wanted the other person to circumvent their needed rest and safe space so that they can do something with them. And I was like, do you not hear what you're fucking saying? Right? Because that's a different level of self-centeredness.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really blessed because at 29, I got sober and had to essentially migrate my whole life to a new platform, essentially. And in that platform are built-in bumpers against out-of-control selfishness and out-of-control self-centeredness and, that sort of abject put your needs ahead of other people's needs. So I found myself in a subset of society where there was a conscious and concerted effort to not be those kind of people. And so that sort of interaction in my life sort of fell off.
Mm-hmm.
I did have one incident of it in that environment where I had been friends with someone who was a male-bodied person, and I, at this point in my life, was sort of running around as if I were lesbian because I've had my sexual identity and orientation has fluctuated over time. So what I didn't know is that they were being friends with me. I guess they had some sort of crush on me that I didn't know they had. And then at some point, the universe saw fit to have me end up in a relationship with a man instead of a woman. I was much frustrated with the God of my understanding at that point. But he got really angry because he wasn't happy for me that I found something. He was mad because if I was going to end up with a man, it should have been him. And I lost the friendship over it. He couldn't be friends with me anymore because I had somehow disappointed some intention of his that I didn't even know was there. So that was kind of weird. But that was an isolated incident for that period of my life. So, but and then in the time since then, in these recent years, there's been all kinds of stuff like that.
So, Petra's Dungeon Makers Supplies on Instagram said, could the reason you gave those idioms up boil down to out of sight, out of mind?
I don't know what that question means.
This was, I think, a few from, when I was talking.
Okay.
But I still don't understand.
I don't know what the question is asking.
If you could rephrase it, maybe?
Yeah,
I'd be
great.
more than happy to answer.
Yeah.
And then, yes, family absolutely does count when it comes to giving up on. And it's
I have not had much to do with my biological family in many, many years because of their inability to acknowledge, particularly alcoholism and addiction, as it's ravaged my family. People in my family are more interested in keeping a status quo around that than they are. Like, nobody has the hard conversations. Nobody's willing to understand that enabling is way worse for a person you care about than being able to show up and have a hard conversation. And I couldn't live like that anymore. I didn't want to live like that anymore. I had died living like that. And so, yeah, I've had absolutely giving up biological family.
Someone said leaving the former religion.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I did a short stint in the time from giving up Catholicism. I did a short stint in Church of Scientology, destructive cult, horrible organization, and I had to be taken out of it, like made for TV movie deprogramming style. So yes, there's letting go of things like that too.
Maybe we'll make a movie of that one day.
Yeah, right. I think people have already made movies about leaving that heinous organization.
Let's see. I found I was happier after I got better, and those that didn't support the healthier me left.
Yeah,
Hence why I settled for breadcrumbs in my life and being a giver instead.
yeah,
We were talking about taking up space,
right.
right? And this, these
Right.
things, they just fall hand in hand. My bio family doesn't accept me or my lifestyle, so I made my own.
Yeah, no, I had another falling out with family members after I sort of embraced the lifestyle 24/7, and I moved from California to New York in order to more fully embrace kink leather BDSM as who I am and not just something that I did on the weekends. And I was really close to my sister and thought she would be able to handle it or handle hearing about it, and she couldn't. She didn't. And so I lost my relationship with her. She decided to take a step back because she was not comfortable with my choices, and that was sad because I love her probably more than any human being on the planet, and I haven't had a relationship with her in 13, 14 years.
Jennifer says, I got sober from alcohol 1.5 years ago. Most friends were very supportive, but not all.
Congratulations.
Giving, Little Red Wolf, does that say giving up being my true self around people who don't appreciate me?
Yeah, that too right there.
Many times in life, people have talked me out of making changes because they felt I wouldn't do it, so I stayed miserable.
It's challenging to recognize that there's something you need to give up. It's challenging to recognize that something you're doing isn't working for you. It takes a lot to be able to transcend a habit, whatever that isn't working. And so for people who don't want to support you in a change that you need to make that's good for you, are people who don't support you. I'll stay away from the judgmental things I want to say about it, but it's hard enough to want to make positive change for yourself without being surrounded by people who say that you shouldn't or you can't or they don't believe in you. That's really discouraging.
Yeah.
And something worth thinking about letting go of, right? If it's a choice between pleasing you with your thoughts and beliefs about who you think I am or who I should be, and me being responsible for myself and making the hard choices and doing the hard things so that I have a chance to grow and be better, I'm going to choose the second one every time.
It's hard to choose that second one at first.
When it means being alone, when it means having to give up the people who thought, loved, and cared about you, no question.
So the out of sight, out of mind was in regards to the moving and the comic books to the homeless person.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think it was because everything was going to storage anyway. So it wasn't like I was going to be engaging with it. I was putting it all away.
Yeah.
But I think it was one of those, I don't need these anymore. Like I was also, I don't want to say purging because there was a lot of other shit I could have purged. But
this was also a decision that was done on the fly.
Yeah.
It's not like you had time to think about what should I get rid of, what should I keep. We were moving stuff quickly.
yeah.
And it wasn't like we went to do that move and you said, I think I'm going to be giving away my comic books. There's nothing like that happened.
Because he was in the street, he walked by. Did he say, do you have anything I can sell or something like that?
Yeah, I don't remember what triggered it.
What had started the conversation.
Yeah. But something happened in your head with it and then you ran with it.
Yeah. Like I do.
Let me ask you, in the time since then, do you regret having given them away?
Not at all. I wonder where they went.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't. Not at all. Not at all. And like they were CGC rated. I had some good stuff.
Well, I hope that guy made some money on it.
Yeah.
Got himself some good stuff for himself.
Yeah. Yep.
Movie and gave books to homeless man.
All right. So You read the first one, or you didn't read?
Yeah,
all
and I
of it?
just read this. I went this far, talking about something that you're
So
going to
you're
stop
on this
doing.
next.
Yeah, this is what we would read next. So giving up on also can mean to stop having hope of seeing someone, or to decide that you will never succeed in doing what you want to do with them. So we'd given up on you hours ago. Like if someone doesn't show up when you want them to show up. Or most people gave up on him when he quit school, but then he went back and earned his degree 2 years later. Right?
But what about he gave up school to pursue his passion?
Right. Well, whatever. I mean, people.
Because they make it sound like it's a takeaway. Was this one the positive spin?
This was just as far as I got.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel about that.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, it's just a way that it's used in society. Like this was trying to describe like how do people use the phrase "give up on," right? Like they're giving up on a person, right? And that is a way people use it and mean it, right?
so I guess part of that is also making it the perspective a wider lens. Again, coming back to the two views. Now, when it comes to the journey, BDSM, leather, kink, giving up on. So, I'm going to come from the professional side of things.
Okay.
When counseling and coaching people in their journey around wanting to be a specific type of person, a type of dominant, type of submissive, it's like give up on the idea of what society tells you these roles are and pursue what they are to you intimately, personally, specifically.
Yeah. Sometimes we have to give something up in order to make room for something else.
The other shit. Give up on finding the dominant of your dreams.
That goes for any relationship.
Yeah, I was gonna say give up
on
for the
trying
sub.
to find the wife, husband, boss. Like,
It's like become the person that you're looking for, and you will attract the person that you're trying to be with. Like, so we have these guys that I work with, that I've known for a number of years, where they go, I want a daddy. I want a daddy. I want a daddy. And this has been the story for fucking 4, 5, 6 years now. And after we've sat, we've worked together, we've learned, and I sat with them, and it was different people over different times. And I said, why don't you become the dominant that you need? Be the person that you're looking for. And they all stopped, and they let the question sink in. And it was like, because you know what you're looking to feel. So you can create the environment for it to exist, as opposed to needing someone to make it exist for you.
yeah.
Right? So give up on needing someone to do it for you.
Yeah.
And create it
Yeah.
for yourself.
Yeah. The other piece in this is giving up on expectations.
I like expectations though. I'm
Ex-
kidding.
When my husband used to say, if you have no expectations, you can never be disappointed. But I guess what I mean by expectations is this. You have an expectation that there's the perfect dom for you out there. You have the expectation that if you just did X, Y, and Z, the perfect submissive would just show up. There's like expectations that are unfounded. Right? Like, I could do everything I can to be the person I want to be, and that person, place, or thing may never show up. And to the degree that I'm fixated on it, it's to the degree that I don't have room for what else might show up.
Or the way it will show up in a different form.
Right.
Because, oh my God, there's so many things that have come into my life where, but this isn't how I pictured it to be.
Right.
And it's like, well, this is how it is.
Right. Right. I mean, and that's where, I mean, for me, this all comes back to my actual spiritual foundedness, right? Like, I know that the God of my understanding, and I use the God word because it's just easier than using all the other words. I'm cared for and protected, and I know that I will always get what I need, even if it isn't what I want, right? You know, thank you, Rolling Stones. You know, you can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need, right? It's like, it's true. Like, the God of my understanding knows what I need better than I do. And sometimes I can get caught up in what I think I want, to the exclusion of seeing the thing that I need that could be right in front of me
The whole time.
the whole time.
And it's always so simple. None of it's ever complicated.
No, no.
So let's see. Unfortunately, not often, more often than not, men are likely your friend because they find you attractive. Got that from both sides, unfortunately. Oh, I think I scrolled back
Yeah,
too far.
we both have that happen.
Grew up in the LDS cult. Lost almost everyone when I left. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Hi, good afternoon, all the people joining us. Hi, beautifuls.
Hi, beautiful people.
Yes, we're talking about what you've given up on, what you let go of. My partner just said no one would be more honest about leaving Scientology than Kat.
Facts. Listen, bring any of those people on. I tangle with those guys all day. I stay away because it's like playing with your food. But what I did have to give up on when I got out was part of what had me hooked in was this belief they foster that you're saving the world, that you're genuinely helping people by doing what you're doing. And I've always helping people has always been at the core of what I've wanted to do. And so I believed for the time that I was in that this was the way to help people, that this was what was going to help people become their best selves, have what they want in their life. And so for a minute, in order to unhook myself from the whole, philosophy and all of that stuff, I had to let go of for a minute the idea that like I maybe hadn't found a way to do that. Maybe I wasn't going to know how to do that, or maybe there wouldn't even be a way for me to do that. But this is one of those moments where my fear of changing was outweighed by my fear of staying the same.
I've given up on a person that I lost myself in to refine myself and build up again.
Yeah.
I've given up on a job that didn't bring me joy, stuck in four walls, to be in a job in nature. Yes, you have to let go of hope, the hardest thing, and radical acceptance of being with a narcissist. Working on yourself and establishing strong boundaries, you will attract what's meant for you. Be the person who you want, need, and desire.
That's what you were just saying, yeah.
That is what I had to do. I had to work on myself first. Become the person that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Yes. I've been listening to It's Not You by Dr. Ramani Durvasula. Let's see, I agree with Kat on this. It's basically the grass is greener where you water it.
I love that.
Let's see.
While I write that down.
That just reminded me of, I would do anything for love, but I won't do that.
Right? Exactly. I love that song.
And you're genuinely helping people to this day, Mama.
Aw, thanks. Any other crazy Meatloaf fans out there?
That song drove me up the wall.
Understandable. He was kind of annoying in a catchy kind of way.
Yes. Yes. So, synonyms.
Synonyms. Deny, refrain, check, forego. It's interesting because these are all very different terms to me. Abstain, restrain, eschew, inhibit, and then let go is the one that came to mind for me, right? As the most applicable synonym, right? Was to let go. Right?
Yeah. Goddess Particle, listen, I love Denver. I had a really good time the couple times I went out to Denver. Were we talking about going out to Denver?
We have been talking about it. I have friends out there that I would love to go visit.
So stay tuned.
Yeah, I have a few friends in Denver.
Oh, your TikTok spurred a discussion at Mass last week. How to use social media. NC lady, awesome, man. Listen,
Yay.
Thank you so much. I hope it was helpful. All right, so you have a place to stay. I have a guest room. Ooh, thank you.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank
So,
you.
giving up on, let's bring the question back to the lifestyle and
Okay.
and communications. Other ways that we can use this question.
One of the things that I've had to do, and it applies here probably as much as anything, is giving up on mind reading. I came from a place where I was sort of trained to believe that, like, if you loved me, you would know what I think, right? And that follows through to the lifestyle. If you were the right dominant for me, you would know what I think, or you would know what I need. Like as a submissive, I would need whatever I would need. You as the dominant should know what that is, right? Giving up on mind reading, giving up on assuming that I or anyone has a crystal ball, right? Which means that we have to communicate, which means that I have to own my thoughts, my feelings, my desires, and find language to communicate those if I expect anybody to be able to step into a role of helping me get those met.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I need to stand. I need to stretch.
Oh, okay.
I
didn't know if you were thinking or what you were
No,
thinking.
I'm standing and thinking. Don't give me bubblegum to chew then. I mean, then I'll be out. I'll be screwed.
Too funny.
No,
Yeah.
I can see that, like the mind reading leading into giving up on and it comes back to expectations of people expecting people to know better,
Right.
right? Because what quote unquote better, and then there's giving up on the. Because for being such a subgroup, subculture, right, of freedom and openness, it's a very judgmental community as well, right? And it's like, I guess giving up on people to accept you.
You mean the expectation that people should accept you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're giving up on that.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, to a certain degree, and some of this has been a process of aging for me, like I have more and more gotten to the point where I don't care what you think of me. Like, you know, whatever. What you think of me is none of my business. It doesn't really matter to me. It doesn't define me.
then there's the giving up on, and it comes back to what's expected. Like, I interpret my leather lifestyle to be my relationship with leather and BDSM and King, my own, right? I'm not going to ever say this is how you have to do it. I am going to say it. Yeah, I am going to say that you have to do it your own way. You have to do that.
But we have
Right.
but we have some shared values that we believe
Yeah,
in.
yeah, yeah.
Embody the leather lifestyle. Like
But-
we believe in integrity and transparency and
the
honor.
core.
But how that happens for you in your life, how you define it, but also how you live it, right? Because in some ways, I don't care how you define it. What I care is how do you show up in the world, right? How do you act? Because I don't really care what you think.
I guess
When it comes to these values, I care how you live them out.
it's the monolith of anything. This is the way,
Right.
right? Give up on there being the way
Yeah.
when it comes to your relationship with connection, your relation. I mean, but there is like
Well,
truth.
but
right?
this
But-
reminds me of the phrase that I was given years ago is that you can only be happy, you can only be right or happy. By that I mean, if I'm running around trying to be right, if I'm trying to like have you do things my way, or I think that there's ways that there's no peace in there, there's no happiness in there, right? I have to give up being right.
Now, just for argument's sake,
Bring it on.
you can't be happy all of the time, but you can be right all of the time. Hey, listen. Hey,
You can be delusional all of the time too.
like, I get it. Like, listen, I don't have to be happy, but if I'm right, I'm right. Like, check this out. If you're on a spaceship and it's crashing, like it's coming down, right? Maybe that's not a good one.
I'm like, where are you going with that?
Maybe that's not a good one.
Where
No,
are you
no, no.
going with that?
So Mr. Seven says, I've given up on saying people in this lifestyle that don't listen when you provide genuine correction. Yeah.
But that's part of that.
That-
right?
that's
part of that
exactly
too.
part of
Like
that.
even in my sort of recovery journey, right? Like I've embraced it fully, like because I had to, because I wanted to, and there's only so much time I'm willing to spend with anyone who isn't willing to walk that walk, right? Talking that talk doesn't do any good. I will give you all the time in the world if you're walking the walk, but there's very little time that I will spend for people who just talk and won't do.
Yeah.
And that's true in the lifestyle, right? When people are, it's true in in all the places where I show up in the world, right? Like, if you're not, like you talk about it, like people who come to you with a problem and you give them some solutions or you give them some suggestions or advice, and then they go away, and then they come back, and they don't come back with a report of how it worked. They come back with the same problem again, as if they never applied what you
Because
had
they did.
suggested. Because they didn't try to make any changes, and then just come around and what
They
ends
just
up-
wanted to vent.
Right, and then at that point, it's not really asking for advice; it's complaining,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you give up trying to give those people
Oh,
any
yeah.
more support other than "I'm here for you."
I'm just
I
saying.
don't have time
as-
today, but I
I feel like I'm
I
fist
feel
bumping.
I feel you, right? But that's true. It's like I can't help anyone more than they want to be helped. I can't do for you more than you're willing to do for yourself. And I've had to give up on that because in my earlier part of my life, I thought if I just tried harder, you'd get better.
Now, there's a difference between someone being tired and needing a companion through this, right? Where I'll roll for you. Like, so for example, I had a friend who was sober, and they reached out to me, and they were not sober when they called, and they were housekeeping. They were going from house to house cleaning, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna join her because she's gonna lose these jobs if she can't do her work. So I went and I cleaned for her while she was intoxicated, coming down and stuff, and it was like she fell off the wagon, and I know she was capable of doing the work. She needed help this time. And I went and we spoke and she processed and shit like that. But it's not the same as someone who goes on and they're in a relationship with a person and, or let me say, I can keep this example. If she said she would do it and this was happening every other week, every 2 or 3 weeks, every month, where she was skirting her responsibilities, falling down this hole, saying that this was going to change, and then it not changing would have been a different story. But this wasn't that.
So did she change ultimately?
For a period of time, she did, and then that's
So
when
during that period where you stepped in to help,
yeah,
was a period of time that she was actually making changes.
yeah, and then that happened for a period of time, and then that's the time I ended up in that apartment with all the
I
drugs.
remember that. I do remember that. I figured that's where you were going. Yeah, you were a sight when you came home that night.
Yeah, that was wild. That was like out of a fucking movie, man.
Yeah.
I listen. The stuff you see on TV in Hollywood, sometimes that shit is real. I was like,
Yeah.
I was like,
there are parts of my life that are like made for TV movies, no lie.
I was like, what is all this stuff? And they said, you're very suspicious.
No, I know. I remember.
It was life.
Another one of those like check boxes, life experience.
You know, I need to tell that story for Kinky Story Nights.
Oh, that would be funny. That would be a very funny story for Kinky Story Nights. Yes.
I need. You
Here,
know,
I'm gonna write it down.
No,
right
no,
here.
I'm gonna do it right here on the whiteboard.
Okay.
Kinky Story Nights stories.
Oh, so we can write things down. We do an event called Kinky Stories every second Saturday of the month where we come and it's like an open mic night for kinky stories or any kind of fun story or, surprising story or whatever. And we both know we have a ton of stories. And when Kinky Story Nights comes, neither of us can remember a thing. So, yes, we're going to start a list so we can remember the things we have to talk about.
So another one I'm giving up on is not being abused while I'm in front of the mic doing kinky stories. Every time I do it, I swear it's an S&M scene.
Yeah,
every time
it is.
I go up there and they make me embarrass myself. Don't
I'm
be
really happy to
suspicious.
hear you say
Don't be
that.
suspicious. But how uncomfortable it is.
But know that you would give that up.
What? Give what up?
Give up the being on the receiving end of that. Or maybe I didn't understand.
No,
what
you didn't
just said.
understand it. No,
Oh.
I think it's funny.
Oh, okay.
It's their respite in the power exchange.
Fair.
It's like they get to inflict
Maybe-
embarrassment onto me.
Maybe that's the part that makes me so uncomfortable, which is why I'm not sure I'm coming back to Kinky Stories, but that's another thing.
Anyway, so that's what we got going on.
Cool. I was just reading did somebody say Taco Bell something?
No, but did you guys see that fried chicken taco Alfredo? where they do the fried chicken in the shape of a taco. They put Alfredo's pasta.
That sounds like it's in our future.
Yes. Very yummy. All right.
Yeah.
So what's tomorrow's question?
Are we done with the hour already?
We have about 7 minutes.
Do you use your time wisely?
Well, I can find a couple ways to answer that.
Well, you'll have to save it for tomorrow.
So do you guys have any before we go, what have I given up on in regards to leather, BDSM, and kink? Any suggestions? Anything that you would throw out in there? I'm just going to go through the comments, make sure I haven't missed anything.
ADHD says no. I've given up on trying to put myself in a box.
That's what you...
I've given up on in the lifestyle. I've given up on trying to put myself in a box. For the longest time, I thought I was submissive. I insisted I was submissive. People would say to me, "No, you're dominant, or you have a dominant side," and I'd be like, "No, no, 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 no." And then finally one day, I found my way to my own dominance and what it meant for me to be dominant. And then, you know, and all along the way, like things I talk about. Modalities that I would never be interested in doing that, or I'm not that kind of person, or whatever. I've just let go of the idea that I have to be defined any kind of way.
So there's a great list that came in.
Awesome. Fire away.
I've given up on being a kink dispenser. I've given up on expecting to be seen, heard, and embraced.
That's 'cause
I've
you're
given up on the drama from the ones who won't learn. Given up on only being D-types and exploring all things and sides. I've let go of trying to be perfect at everything. Awesome. I've given up on that too. How about you guys? Anything from Instagram? Let's see. Oh, here it goes. I've given up on saying people in this lifestyle that don't listen when you provide genuine correction. Yeah, I try to give people grace, but it's crazy. Like some people I'm talking about are using kink as means for therapy solely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I keep getting on them because they need real therapy before they...
You can probably fill that blank in.
Before they do something they shouldn't be doing.
Right. Or before you try to lean on BDSM as the heal-all or the thing that's going to fix everything.
Yeah.
Like the magic bullet, a silver bullet, whatever. It's not.
I've given up thinking that I have to be at every kink event. Burnout is real. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Oh, I went to your PXA workshop in New York City in December 2022.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, that was another pivotal moment as we keep pivoting.
Speaking of which, we have our intensive coming up. Talk about the schedule. We have August 24th
is our leather night.
Leather night sponsored by co-sponsored by the Eagle, NYC, the leather bar here in New York, the Eagle, the Meta Betty's Gallery at the Canvas 3.0, at the Westfield Mall, at the Westfield World Trade Center shopping. It's like a super high-end shopping place. It's crazy.
It's a very fancy.
Very fancy.
Shopping.
Very fancy.
And
place.
I'm hearing stories week after week of people who have a different idea of what that building, the architecture of the building represents. It's really pretty crazy. Oh, Mr. Seven, I'm sorry you won't be able to join us. But if you're here, we have other stuff coming up. On the 22nd, we'll be at the same World Trade Center for our art exhibit, social, and class. On the 23rd, we will have our open dungeon and play space up here at the studio at East Harlem.
Every Friday
night from 6 to midnight. So then that Saturday, we're going to be, the 24th, we'll be down again at the World Trade Center for the Leather Night and Covering Ceremony.
At the Gallery 3.0.
At the gallery, at the Canvas 3.0.
The Canvas,
right.
Canvas 3.0.
The official term is the Meta Betty's Gallery, powered by Canvas 3.0, in the shops at the Westfield World Trade Center. That's the phrase, right? And I was told that that's how we have to represent them. It's just a lot of words to say it every time we say it. I think we're not supposed to say Oculus.
There you go. Okay, so scratch the Oculus. Then we have Cat being covered. Tom, our other leather brother, being covered, and Miss Lady out of Bath, Pennsylvania,
Is coming up.
is coming to be
too.
covered
I'm
as
so
well.
excited.
We have people flying in from across the country for this event. It's going to be sponsored by the Eagle, big social. We're going to have a lot of art on the walls. I'm really, really excited for what's coming.
Yeah, and because I'm a celebrant, I'm not getting to know about it, so I'm going to be surprised too.
Let's see. We and then the last weekend of August, from the August 30th, 31st, and September 1st, is our weekend intensive.
Yes, super exciting. It's revamped again. We haven't done the weekend intensive since January of this year, earlier January. We usually do it more often than once every 8 or 9 months, and so it's the same format. We'll meet Friday evening. We'll do an opening circle. We'll talk about the weekend as it's going to be. We'll do the show and tell. Everyone can come see the toys, share their toys. And then Saturday, we'll start with our foundational process called Connection Simplified, where people will partner up and get to dig into questions just like these. And then we'll talk about power exchange and energy exchange. We'll talk about how, once you understand your value, how do you decide who to let have access to your time, your body, and your resources, and then vetting, and we'll roll into taking all of this understanding of ourselves, and then how do we show up in the different modalities. So we'll be doing mummification for meditation. We'll be doing impact separate from flogging, like using your hands and using other implements. We'll be doing rope. So it'll be an packed weekend. You'll come away with so much insight into yourself and into lifestyle and into play and BDSM and King of Leather. It's completely worth it. People are already signing up. There's you can sign up on the website. You can reach out to me. I don't care. You can Venmo me, and we can get you signed up. Yeah. So we're excited. We have a lot of stuff going on.
All right, folks. So
KingCollective.net is the easiest way to find all the stuff that I just rattled off. Go to KingCollective.net. What I'm hearing is that people don't go to websites because they're not updated. I update that website almost every day. Everything on the website is up to date. So, and if you catch me in a typo, by all means, reach out to me and let me know, because I'm forever updating the website to make sure it's as accurate as it can be.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. It's true, though. It's true. We hear that all the time. All right, folks. Tomorrow's question is...
Do you use your time wisely? So take a little time and think about that, and then we'll see you all tomorrow.
See you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Happy Sunday. Today's
Thanks for
Sunday.
coming. Today's Sunday. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.